Greetings and welcome to this relatively odd beginner's guide, quote-unquote, for healing in Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood. Now, the reason I am being very specific that it's a beginner's guide is because there really is no proper beginner's guide that can be done for any game, because healing is one of those things that you can only get good at with experience. No amount of practicing on a target dummy or on somebody that isn't in actual combat is going to help you be prepared for the kind of stuff that will happen inside dungeons and raids. Now, because there isn't really any outside of actual instance examples that I can give you in order to give you a good idea of what to expect from healing in this game, at least for the moment, what is going to happen is that we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to heal, how to be prepared for as much as possible, and then we're going to go do two things. We're going to finish off this video with a dungeon run, or at least a summed up dungeon run with a couple of bosses and a couple of notable things that can happen in a dungeon. And then we're going to release a second video where we're going to talk about what happens in a raid and how that can be a lot more difficult and hectic. Now, one of the first things that you need to know when you are a healer is that you need to identify where your raid frames are going to be. No, that's not it. Let's see. Here we go. HUD layout. Now, as you can see here, this is where my party goes, and this is where the alliance lives. This is where the other two parties in a raid are going to show up. Now, when we actually get into the video, you're going to notice that here are going to be all 8 members of the other alliances. This is going to be ours. Now, the trick to being able to heal in a raid is being able to target everyone and being able to react quickly with your heals on time so that they are actually relevant. Because if you take too long, another healer will have gotten to them, and you're basically being useless. However, that is not something that can be taught just by watching a UI or by sitting around. So, let us go into a dungeon and let us, well, talk about a little bit what it means to heal through a dungeon, and then when we go into a raid, you'll see how hectic it can truly be. So, let's get to it, shall we? Okay, and we're in. Okay, now this dungeon really isn't that difficult from what I'm thinking. There aren't any, well, actually there are. After the first boss, there's some pretty big pulls that tanks love to pull for some odd reason. But we'll see how much. Whoa, 75,000 HP. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna have to worry too much about this guy. I mean, he has over twice my HP. And if we examine him, we can see, yeah, 350 gear. Yeah, he raids a lot, so we don't really have to worry about him a lot. So we can actually, where are you going? Here, have a regen. So our region is healing him for around 4,000-ish. But because we don't need to worry, we can actually do some of this. Refresh or the region, actually. And yeah, this first pull really isn't that difficult. Later on, things can get a little bit more difficult, but really not much to say from this point forward. Now for here, wait for the tank to jump down first, he'll grab aggro. And that should be everybody, so we can actually start regening him so we don't get hit by anything. And we can actually do this to help out a little bit. So which one next? Okay, this one. Now, at the moment, everything seems pretty easy, and that's because the first pulls in this new dungeon really are relatively easy. Whoop! Except for that. Now, we did get lucky and get an extremely well-geared tank. Like, I haven't seen somebody with that much HP ever yet. So yeah, we got lucky with this tank. There we go, he's got aggro on the crabs now. He'll probably run to the very end because he can, and I was right. Unfortunately, that means I'm going to grab aggro. And unfortunately, I did take some damage, but not too much. A regen should be more than enough to keep, well, get me back up. So let's start healing the tank, shall we? Okay, let's put some of that, and some more regen. With that big enough pull and with the elemental damage on top of that, he is starting to take some damage, but we got him up and our regen effects are enough to keep him at full most of the time here. So let's see what we can do to help everybody out with some damage. There we go, only Lava Lion left, and he goes down, and we're pretty much done with this area. Now, first boss. There really isn't anything too fantastical about this boss in terms of damage that we needed to heal through. People can be done, but it's usually not a problem. Start with a regen while out of combat if possible, toss another regen, and he'll be good for the next 20 or so seconds. So we can put some dots on him. So as you can see, he is at full. He doesn't need much of our help here. Devotion. Oh yeah, that's some of the right. See, just some areas we need to avoid. Nobody's getting hit by anything. The tank did get a stack of damage amplification. I'm not sure how, but he did. Oh yeah, he's not running away from the giant spinny thingy. That, as you can see. Put that on him. Oh, the tank was healed somehow. He probably healed himself. And I am the target of his ire this time, so just walk him around. Really not much to say on this boss, honestly. Just make sure we end in not close to any of those things exactly, because then that happens. And okay, the tank is going to actually start taking some decent damage now with 3 stacks of damage amp. And yeah, here, have this. We don't want you dying out of a random burst. Let's put this here. There we go, they finally remembered that he does that. And me again, fun. Okay, he always starts with the pike, and there we go. Get him back up, nobody's getting hit by anything, which is good. Now, something I did forget to mention is that a very useful tool that you may or may not know about is the F key. Well, at least for me anyway. You may have to bind it to something easier to use, but the action of targets target, if that makes sense, is so you can target whatever it is you're currently targeting. Sounds confusing, but basically by pressing F, I can target whatever it is the person I'm currently looking for is targeting, which makes it a lot easier to target the boss. Where's he going? He thought it was that way. Oh, poor him. And here's the second boss. Not really yet, but we'll get to him anyway. Now, this is going to be a big pull, especially with this tank that's going to like to do big pulls. Now, we don't want to put regen on him just yet until we grab Zagger on the other pack. That way we don't take any damage. Something we can do is Insta-Holy. Get that going. There we go. Double healing effect should help keep him up. There we go. He is still taking quite a bit of damage, though. Some of that. Get some mana back. Now, something that many years ago became a hot topic, at least for a couple of months, was the term of overhealing. And that's because way back then, back in World of Warcraft, overhealing was actually a problem for healers where the tank was at full health and they were still healing him. Or the big heal that they launched on the tank only healed him for the fraction of health he was missing, and everything else was quite literally wasted because he was already at full health. Now, in this game, the term overhealing really isn't that big of a deal, because as you can see, my mana is still quite decent, and you also have access to Lucid Dreaming as pretty much any healer or spellcaster, I believe. And that will basically get you back 50% of your maximum mana if you don't heal anything, or around 35 to 40% if you are casting, as long as you're not casting anything expensive over and over again. So using that along with the one for White Mage with the Thin Air, I can get back most of my mana in no time at all. Let's start with that. Put a shield on you. There we go, and there we go, we're trying to suffer AoEs ourselves. Let's give you more regen effects. Now, SIs doesn't really heal that much, but it also deals a little bit of damage to everything. Now here you're seeing that I'm using my regular weak heal, and that's because it's a lot more efficient in terms of mana, and it's enough to keep him stable, let's say. Yes, his health is going up and down quite a bit, except for here, where he took a bit hit. As you can see, he is not going down. A big heal there, because he did just take something big. Let's cast this and this. There we go. Get him slightly higher, put regen back on him. There we go. Now that there's a lot less attacking him, we'll be able to get some of our mana back. Let's just use this. No reason not to. Put the regen back. Now this boss has a miniature tank buster that has no, what's it called? There is no, whatever that's called, there is no warning that it's coming, it'll just come, which can be annoying. And you also need to stay near him, otherwise you get hit by that. And then during the phase transition you can get hit by the giant scythe thing, and that can hurt quite a bit. But let's see if we can spot... Oh, stay to his side here. He got hit by it, so he's not going to take a little bit more damage. Okay, big AoE phase. Okay, what's tank? Stay near the tank, stay near the tank. Make it easier for him to grab aggro and everything. Okay, everybody got the medical regen, which is good. Get over here, tank, or you can get one-shotted by that, even with your health. Okay, so far everybody's doing good. The Medica 2 regen is keeping everybody up. Okay, now everybody took a little bit of damage there, but we're not going to regen once I cast this. And we also got Confession on them, so we might as well just finish off with that. And now everybody's at max health. So as you can see, casting Medica 1 instead of Medica 2 was more than enough to get us back up. And there's the tank buster I told you about. So let's give him a little bit more regen. And more regen from the Medica 2 one. Get to his side. There we go. There we go, and down he goes. So as you can see, when we all took the small amount of AoE damage, instead of using Medica 2, I used Medica 1 because I knew that that would be more than enough to get us back up, at least to near full health, and then because most of my AoE healings that cost mana grant the targets a stack of Confession, I could then use that, which is free, to get us back to full, even though it would heal quite a little bit. Oh, come back here, you. Don't you dare die on me. Ah, it's because we're suffering water damage here. Okay, we're going to need increased healing. Oh dear, he is pulling too much and pulled away from me, and this is not good, and I'm going to have to use this. And too late. He pulled too much. Okay, so in this case, the wipe is actually his fault because he did not wait for me to catch up and get him back up before pulling a lot more. He did not realize I wasn't within reach to heal him. And so, yeah, this just happened. And this will more than likely happen. Just remember, it happens all the time. There's nothing bad about it, as long as the people responsible realize what happened. In this case, it was his fault because he ran out of my range and kept running out of my range. What just happened to our Black Mage? Was he still alive? Yes, he was running for his life and hoping to remain alive. Yeah. That's not gonna work, buddy. Ah, okay. So that's what happened. So he was counting on his I don't die maneuver for I don't die for 6 seconds move to go off, but it never did. So that's what happened. Now, one of the problems with the warrior ability Home Gag, which gaps them 6 seconds of I don't die, is that it has a 6-yard range. If your target is beyond those 6 yards, it will never trigger. So that was probably what just happened here. But anyway, you live, you learn, and you move forward, actually. And yeah, that is exactly what happened. Now the problem with these things here, the Alpha, is that they cast water damage, and that hurts tanks a lot, as you can see. So I need to use this. I somehow parried something as a white mage. Okay, because of the water damage, I'm going to actually trigger Logres, which is going to increase my healing by 40%, and I just pulled something. Cast a regen on me. Get back on the tank. He's going to need it. He is taking quite a bit of damage from something. And as you can see, I am barely keeping up with the damage. Now, what probably is happening right here is that he used all of his damage mitigation abilities early on in the fight, and now that they are not available to him, he is taking all the damage from all these things at the same time, which is not good. And as you saw, I almost ran out of mana right there. Some of this for more mana. So yeah, you will more than likely face this scenario eventually, and you need to understand that the tank dying is not always your fault. And even a very good geared tank like this one with 70,000 HP can go down to a lot of mobs if they are dealing magic damage instead of physical, which his armor does nothing about. Okay, man is around 3/4, so we're pretty good for the next homecoming fight. It's just the two big things. But yeah, we got something new. Let's give him that and that. And also some of this. And some of this. There we go. That should keep him well and up for most of the fight. As long as he avoids the big AoEs, of course. Meanwhile, we're going to cast this on them. Help out a little with the damage. Now, something I haven't mentioned is that when you first start healing, you're going to be like this, targeting the tank and not doing anything else and just waiting for his health to go down. And that hit me quite a bit. And that is actually a big mistake, because if your tank is doing fine without you, like he is right now, a simple regen is keeping him up mostly, you can actually target whatever it is you're fighting and cast a stone or a arrow to help the damage. As little as it is damage, and drop by drop you fill a glass. So, yes, sometimes it's actually useful to actually cast your damaging abilities on whatever it is you're fighting. Now, boss time. Now, luckily this boss isn't particularly difficult. I just need to pay attention to what's on the ground. We will take some AoE damage eventually, but outside of that, there really isn't much I need to worry about on this fight. Get some regen going on the tank. There we go, and we're set. Oh yeah, and this thing has a miniature tank buster, which was that thing. A quick heal, the regens I have on him will keep him up, as you can see. And cast regen again. Come here, you. There you are. He steps into the AoE. Nicely done. Okay, water time. Where is it coming? Where is it? Okay, it's coming that way, that way, and that way. Okay, we are safe now. Let's put some more regen on him. There. Okay, we're fine. So as you can see, all the regen effects that are currently on him and his own healing from Inner Beast is keeping him up quite nicely. At least for the time being. Let's get some more Medica 2 on him. That way. Okay, now we're in the big ones. A regen on me should be enough, and also on our samurai. Oh, he took a damage, so here, have some of this. Okay, he's about half HP, so he's going to do his big and destroy the shield thing. There it is. So what we are going to do is going to do that with some of this. And then we're actually going to help with the damage because we have to. And then some of this. Run for our lives. Nobody took damage, that's good. Now, a big AoE is coming, so I need to be prepared for that. And there it is. Okay, we're going to start with this, and then we're going to go with Medica 1. So we're about going that way, and then it's... Oh dear! Get away from everybody else. And I might as well use this since the stacks are there, and I almost went down. Here, has some of this. Get back to full. Let's get myself up. Put that there. And we are fine now. Except for the tank having taken some damage amplification debuff. Water there. Okay, we're fine. Except for that, of course. So let's cast a Medical 1. Well, regen effect, let's get some mana back. Have a shield. Fire, okay, there. Okay, we are safe here. Not everybody will be. There we go. Okay. Got a little bit hairy there at the end, but we did it. Anything fun? No. Okay, well. Okay, so that was dungeon healing. That final boss, because of the damage amplification debuff that the waters can do, and the AoEs that target 3 people in the party and everything, damage was starting to stack up on the tank, and during the penultimate pull, during that scenario, where the tank pretty much was taking a lot of damage, I was barely managed able to keep up. And that wasn't his fault. He really pulled a lot, and I am not as geared as probably the healer he is accustomed to playing with, considering he raids a lot. So I was barely keeping up, but luckily, usage of pretty much everything I had managed to keep him up. Now, he did have home gag in order to not die. I'm not sure if he activated it or not. I was too busy spamming healing. But yeah. Now, that's going to be it for this video. There is going to be a part 2 where we are going to go into an alliance raid, into a roulette raid, and we're going to start healing there. And things are going to be a lot different in that scenario, and you're going to see why. So, thanks for watching, and we will see you in part 2 later.